All right, Yokoso. Um, Sorry, it's been a while since we put up some content. Um, the issue is that these slides were drafted a little over 6 months ago. We never got around to posting them, and an election has issued in this case. And the response date is Monday, August 8th. Today is currently Saturday, August 6th. So I wanted to get this posted before the applicant took any additional action or the examiner began examination. In the interim, I visited Japan. 7月に日本に行きました。業さん働きをして、でも楽しいでした。多分11月に日本に行きます。All right. So this slide shows the pre-grant publication number. It might be handy to follow along with the slides. Let's get started. So figure 1 on the left side of the slide illustrates a method of a generative adversarial network, a GAN, based on spectral normalization. After optional initialization steps at S100 and S102, left and right singular vectors of a weight matrix are updated at S104 by a convergence operation. The weight matrix is then normalized at S106 by spectral normalization based on the updated left and right singular vectors. An error is calculated at S108 based on the spectrally normalized weight matrix. The error calculation includes 3 steps. This is set forth in the pre-grant publication at paragraph 65. Go. Initially, a first reference result of whether the correct answer data is correct answer data is acquired. Next, a second inference result of whether the false data is not correct answer data is acquired. And then by a loss function as represented in equation 3, the error is calculated based on these first and second inference results. In S110, the weight matrix is updated based on the error. And on figure 2, you can see the system of this application. And this is with regards to paragraphs 79 and 82. So 79と82. So the error calculator 18 performs step S104 and outputs the error to backward propagation block 20. Here it's called backward propagator. And then the updater the updater 202 performs steps S104 through S110. So we're going to focus on the operations of these 2 elements, and therefore we're looking at this portion of the flowchart for enforcement purposes, right? This other portion, these top 2 rows of blocks, might not be in an infringer's system. So there's a corresponding Japanese application, but there was a preliminary amendment filed in the United States. And so our first independent claim is a bit different. This is the current claim in the United States. You can see that there's a calculating S106, as well as an updating S110. And we'll get into, I guess, the details of the claim momentarily. So like one of our previous machine learning videos, this application has not been examined quite yet. It will probably will be in about 2 weeks. So it's important that we get this up there on YouTube as soon as possible. So we're going to consider a potential preliminary amendment today. Our original claim set filed in the United States included 31 total claims, of which 6 were independent. Okay. I frequently say it. In the United States, you get 3 independent claims and 20 total claims for the same basic filing fee. So the excess here are 3 more independent claims and 11 total claims, and the applicant paid fees for those. However, they also later filed this preliminary amendment that canceled all pending claims and added 20 total claims, of which, again, 6 are independent. In our previous machine learning session, the claims were split between training the system and applying the system. Here, all 6 independent claims are directed to training. So there's no inconsistency between them in terms of, some being training and some being application. So our goal today is to kind of come up with 11 more claims that depend from these 6 independent claims. And we're just going to do some basic division. We're going to divide 12 by 6 and end up with 2 dependent claims per independent claim, right? So our content today will be determining 2 additional dependent claims. The goal of the existing preliminary amendment is to present a variety of claims. Right? They just kind of threw everything at the examiner. The examiner will determine, which claims require additional references to form a rejection. The examiner can consider which claims might be allowable. And so that claim set can provide a good set of guideposts for prosecution, right? We have a good sense of where, maybe the examiner's rejection is a bit weak, or where, an additional reference has to be brought in. So the goal of our preliminary amendment, of our proposed second preliminary amendment, must be different. And so we're going to propose a surgical preliminary amendment. We're going to be very precise in identifying potential issues in the claims and then presenting features to address those issues. Well, in order to do that, we have to identify issues, and we do that by considering a broad, reasonable interpretation of Claim 32. If you've never seen BRI before, I need to stress that reasonable doesn't really mean reasonable. Reasonable means more like having a reason, right? I have to give you a reason. I have to be able to state it. However, it doesn't mean the interpretation is typical to the art. It doesn't mean that I agree with it. It doesn't mean that it's generally accepted by those of ordinary skill in the art or by patent attorneys. It just means I can give you a reason with a straight face. And then we will consider potential rejections based on BRI. And then once we have these rejections, we can propose claims to address those potential rejections. All right, well, what's the BRI of the claim? So again, we've got this calculating of a normalized weight matrix, okay? And we're normalizing a first weight matrix of a discriminator discriminating between first data, which is correct data, and second data, which is false data generated by a generator, okay? And then we also have the step of updating the first weight matrix, at least based on 2 things. The first output of the discriminator for the first data and a second output of the discriminator for the second data. We're going to identify 3 holes in this claim. And I want to stress that holes can be a good source of breadth if the claim drafter intended those holes. If the claim drafter did not intend those holes, then it's a bad source of breadth, right? There's an issue with the claim. But if you knew what you were doing when you drafted this and you said, hey, I don't want to limit the claim in this way, then it's good. All right. This yellow highlighting illustrates first the definition and then the application of the first and second data. Okay, we're not really going to focus on defining the first data as correct or the second data as false. Rather, our concern is defining the bases for the weight matrix as being outputs for the first data and for the second data, right? It says the first output of the discriminator for the first data. A broad interpretation here is not limited to inputting the first data into the discriminator to produce a first output, right? That's probably what the applicant intended. Instead, any relationship of the first output to the first data can be for the first data, right? That's the whole. For example, maybe some device modifies the first data with the first output, such as via addition or subtraction, some sort of feedback maybe. This addition or subtraction would not produce the advantages in the application. Therefore, it might be difficult to assert subject matter eligibility or non-obviousness with a broad recitation like a first output of the discriminator for the first data. The green highlighting illustrates the bases for updating the first weight matrix, right? Here, these are claimed simply as outputs of a discriminator. We've already discussed the potential breadth of the phrase for the first data and using the normalized weight matrix, right? That's that doesn't seem to be, oh, here it is, using the normalized weight matrix. Broadly interpreted as written, it might be that the discriminator, not the first and second outputs, is for the first and second data, right? We might parse it as the discriminator for the first data, the discriminator for the second data. And so these are just first and second outputs of a discriminator for these two, for the first data and the second data. I apologize, my notes are a little bit incorrect. We did not discuss using the normalized weight matrix. I believe that comes up later. Basically, it's very broad. All right. Again, we have to come up with the potential grounds of rejection. So here we're going to look at some references that were disclosed by the applicant and create a potential rejection based on it, right? I'm not going to perform a search to find art for proposed obviousness rejection. But, the applicant submitted this art to the USPTO. So I think it's fair game to, we have to distinguish over that. And so can we construct a rejection based on that? And I think the answer is yes, right? There's this Goodfellow non-patent literature and a Yoshida non-patent literature. Goodfellow teaches again the adversarial network we discussed before. Yoshida discusses a spectral norm. And we can just modify the GAN in view of the spectral norm by outputting the outputs of the GAN to the inputs of the spectral norm. All right. Per the Yoshida reference, the motivation for doing that is improving the generalizability of the GAN. Okay. My point is that this is not a stretch. This is not me being creative. This is exactly what the Yoshida reference is supposed to do, is to generalize a GAN, and Goodfellow teaches a GAN. These documents were cited in the original Japanese application. I believe they're cited in the translated European application, but for some reason they were not filed in the US. I'm sorry, they're not included in the specification in the United States, right? Some US attorneys get really, they worry about telling the PTO about this art. So they were cited in an information disclosure statement filed in April 2020, which they absolutely should be. But there's a question, right, of whether the applicant can be accused of hiding the materiality of these NPLs, right? The specification here is a little bit different. We don't have whatever text we don't have whatever text in the specification that describes these references. Okay, the references are in front of the PTO, but applicants' characterization, applicants' beliefs about these references is not before the USPTO. So there's still a little concern. All right, well, what's your proposed claim, Brian? So this is the proposed claim to address the obviousness rejection. We're going to further input into the discriminator the first data and a true value to produce a first inference result. We're going to input into the discriminator the second data and a false value to produce a second inference result. And then we're going to calculate the error based on the first inference result and the second inference result. Okay. It doesn't say a whole lot. But as is often the case at the USPTO, the proposed rejection is based on a general modification of Goodfellow in view of Yoshida, right? It's not this nuanced one where we're making very specific connections. It's just kind of like, you know, here's the Goodfellow GAN, here's the Yoshida spectral normalization, and we're just kind of sticking them together somehow. And so I don't know if this claim is allowable, of course, but it defines more of the structure to our system than is currently in the claims, and more structure than would be disclosed by combining Goodfellow and Yoshida, as I proposed on the previous slides. Okay. And so the specific modification of claim 52, the subject matter of claim 52, is not necessarily motivated by Yoshida, right? Yoshida is just about applying a spectral norm. Claim 33, dependent from claim 32, doesn't have sufficient features to overcome the proposed rejection of just kind of sticking them together. But it doesn't take much to overcome a sloppy rejection like that. It only requires a claim like this. All right, let's consider a proposed eligibility rejection. So claim 32 could be rejected as directed to a mathematical calculation without significantly more. All right, abstract idea. I could lecture for hours about abstract idea, but the tweet length version, the postcard version, is that to overcome an eligibility rejection, we want to produce an inventive effect, okay? The inventive effect in this application seems to be provided by the overall error described in paragraph 67 of the pre-grant publication, Rokuju Nana. The overall error is not recited in claim 32. And if you look at claim 33, it's not really sufficient to provide the inventive effect, right? That's what we were doing on the previous slide with regard to our proposed claim 52, is we're trying to clarify the inventive effect. But the question is what is the purpose of updating the weight matrix of the discriminator, right? And to kind of suggest the answer to this question, why isn't the GAN recited in any of the claims, right? We have a generator, but that's not really what the GAN is here. So here's an additional dependent claim intended to address a proposed eligibility rejection. So this one depends from claim 52. And it says that the discriminator and the generator are included in a generative adversarial network. There's the GAN. The correct data is training data for the generator, and the generator produces the second data upon receiving noise data. Okay. If we look at this whole chain of claims now, we have a sense, right? 32, 33, 52, and 53. We have a sense of the relationship between the first weight matrix of the discriminator and the generator, right? The issue really is that, in my view, this should be in the independent claim. It looks kind of silly in a dependent claim, but it's kind of upside down, right? These are the features that should be in the independent claim initially, and the kinds of features that are in the existing independent claim look kind of more like the sort of thing that would be in a dependent claim. So, it looks weird. I agree. But these features are lacking in the existing claims. They don't significantly limit the subject matter from the applicant's point of view. But when it comes time for examination in the United States, the examiner could reasonably point to the issues addressed by these claims. And I think the examiner would have a great point. All right, so just some closing thoughts. This was supposed to be a short session. So why is there no claim to equation 3? It's a bit outside our purposes today, but such a claim seems important and is likely to be indicated as allowable by the examiner. Okay, easy way to get some allowable subject matter identified early in prosecution. I don't know this applicant. I don't know their goals. Maybe they want to fight for really broad claims. That's their prerogative. That's their choice. Maybe they want to just get a case allowed with a minimum number of office actions. That's also a choice. If they're trying to proceed efficiently, they should really have a claim directed to equation 3. Because examiners often allow those claims early, even if they're not necessarily the most inventive. All right. Again, I drafted these slides a while ago, and I was proposing to split the claims into 2 groups, 32, 48, and 50, and then 45, 49, and 51. This has now been memorialized in the examiner's election. So, claims 32, 48, and 50 are directed to updating the matrix based on discriminator outputs. Meanwhile, claims 45, 49, and 51 are directed to updating the matrix based on an evaluation value. These, I believe, are supposed to be different. But the issue is that claims in the same patent will be construed similarly. They'll be interpreted in a similar manner. And so, pardon me. In my view, I would elect claims 32, 48, and 50. I would cancel 45, 49, and 51. And I would instead present claims of means plus function or step plus function features to give it some diversity, but to also have a positive effect on the existing independent claims, 32, 48, and 50. And again, there's no charge for doing that. The applicant has already paid for 6 independent claims. So you might as well file those because it's free patent protection. And that concludes my slides. Thank you very much. See you again soon.